Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. I made this image to demonstrate just how effective a surface reflection can be, and also to show a light stacking technique, as the finished image is a composite of two slightly different lighting setups. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so this is what I've got set up so far. On this table I've placed a sheet of glossy Perspex. Now this has the attribute that it will give a surface reflection. So unlike if I placed the subject, which in this case is a segment of an orange, on a mirror, you'd actually get two reflections. One from the surface of the glass and the second reflection from the backing to make the mirror. This way you end up with just one crisp reflection. Okay, so this is the subject, and to capture that I'm going to use this full frame digital SLR just with a 24-70 zoom lens on the front of it and a flash sync trigger on the top. Now the camera is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to see the results as we go along. Okay, so I've previously set this tripod. So I will just pop the camera on the tripod and we'll line up the shot. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just zoom that all the way into the 70mm end on the zoom lens. And then just using the control on the geared head here, I'm just going to center the subject in the frame. And we'll just check the focus. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now that I've set that, what I can do is turn the camera on, and the software has recognized the camera, and these are the settings that I have on the camera at the moment. So it's in full manual mode, 1/250th of a second for the shutter speed, which is the flash sync speed for that camera, 100 ISO, and at the moment I'm using an aperture of f8. So before I set any flash, I'll just grab an image, and this is just a very quick test just to ensure that there's no contamination from the lights in the studio. And as you can see, there's no image to speak of there. So any light which I now add with flash is the only light which is going to affect the subject. Okay, so to light this then, what I want to do is actually bring out all the texture and the detail in the orange here. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is virtually backlight it. So I'm going to put a fairly small studio head about here somewhere. So on this C stand with a boom arm on it, I've got a 250 joule studio head. This is just a very small pack and head system, and being quite small, it's also very light, so it's easy to do this sort of arrangement with. So in this position here, it is, as you can see, behind the subject, so it's going to backlight it. So that should, as we said, bring out the detail in this. Okay, so with that in position, we can just turn that on. There we are. And just at an arbitrary energy level, I'll grab an image and we'll just see what we get. Well, the exposure is actually fairly close without doing anything at all. I think maybe one stop more might do. I can see that I've got a little bit of flare coming in at the top of the image here. So just to get rid of that, I'm just going to use a flag. So just a piece of cardboard in a lab stand, and we'll just place that just over the top of the lens there, and that should eliminate that flare. And then as far as the exposure, we'll just add a stop and see what that looks like. There we go. Yes, that seems to have done it. This is the previous image, and here you can see the flare at the top, and in this image all the flare's gone, and I think the exposure on this is also quite a lot better. I'll just zoom in a little. We'll have a look at the focus. Yeah, the focus on that looks fairly good. The focus on the reflection is starting to go soft. So what I need is a larger depth of field. So to give me a bigger depth of field, what I'm going to do is alter the aperture from f8, and initially we'll try for f16 and see what that looks like. So that's a 2-stop change, so I need to add 2 stops of energy to the light to compensate. So I'll just do that. There we go. And we'll grab that again. There, that's considerably better. So now if I just zoom in, yes, we can see that the reflection here is a lot crisper than it was before. Okay, so in this capture, the actual orange segment itself is well exposed, but the reflection is a little lacking. So what I'm going to do is just move the light ever so slightly further forwards, so that I end up starting to light the surface as well as the back. I'll show you what I mean. If I just move this relatively small distance like that, and now grab another image without doing anything else, there, you can see that we've got a huge difference in the reflection here. So this is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. And also, what I want to do is compensate for that being a reflection. So I'm going to actually add another stop to the system, like so. So if I now grab that again, so the reflection is now looking good, but this is now all burnt out along the top here. But by using the previous capture, this one here, and combining the 2 images in Photoshop, I can make one image which has the attributes of both. So that's it for capturing the images. What I'll do now is go into Photoshop and do the post-production. So here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up the 2 images that I captured earlier. So I have this one where we have the segment itself exposed correctly, and then this one where I moved the light and also increased the exposure on the reflection. So the first thing to do is to make a stack of these 2 images. So go to File, down to Scripts, across to Load Files into Stack. And just click on the Add Open Files icon here, and it will add the files that are open and make a new file which is a stack of those 2 images. So now I can dispense with the camera originals. This also gives you some redundancy. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do then is just combine these 2 images. And the easy way to do that would just be to add a layer mask to the top one here, like so, and just invert that layer mask to hide that layer. There we are. So now wherever I paint in white on this mask will reveal that image. So just make sure that white is selected as your foreground color. Go for a paintbrush, and I'm just going to make that a little smaller and quite a lot softer. There we are. And now I can just paint in the previous image like that. And that now combines the 2. There we are. So that's with that layer on, and that's without it. So that's overexposed, and that's about right. Good. Now, as you can probably see in this image, one of the downsides to using a piece of Perspex is that it does attract quite a lot of dust. Now, you could go along and spend hours cleaning it, or you could just do it in post-production, which is what I'm going to do. So to clean up the image, I'm just going to add another layer, like so, and literally paint on this layer in black. So making sure black's selected, I've got a paintbrush here. I'm just going to make it a little harder. There we are. And initially I'm just going to go around fairly roughly the two orange segments, like so. There we are. Now if I turn off these two layers, this is what I've ended up with. So I just basically need to just colour in the rest of this all in black. There we are. So now if I turn on the two layers, we end up with a nice clean background. So that's with that layer active and that's without. So it does make quite a large difference. So there may well be one or two bits that I've missed. So what I'm just going to do is zoom in a little, and with a smaller paintbrush, I'll just go in and take those little bits out. There we are. And also, while I'm zoomed in, if I go to the base image, I'll turn off that layer and make the base image active. I can see that there's a few bits in here where there are spots and so on. So that can be cleaned up quite easily just with the spot healing brush. There we go. Good. So now if I turn that back on again and just zoom back out. There we are. So it just remains to pick a crop for the final image. I'm using this for video, so as usual I'll pick 16 by 9. I just want to tighten that up ever so slightly, I think. And I might just rotate it just a little bit. There. And there we have it. So by backlighting the translucent subject, it's possible to bring out the detail within that subject. And then by using a stacking technique, I've added two separate lighting setups together to produce the final image. Okay, well I hope you liked watching how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching.